soup.
Hello, this is Cindy with Cindy's Kitchen, and today I'm going to share with you my recipe for Zuppa Toscana soup. So the first time I tried this recipe was at an Olive Garden years ago, and I thought it was really good. So I went home and I tried to mimic it, and I got on the internet and I tried to look for recipes, but there really was nothing at that time. This is a long time ago. And anyway, I put together the best recipe I could based on what I remembered about it and what I tasted in the soup. And the recipe came out really good, and I was really happy with it. So you be the judge, and hopefully you'll try it out and see what you think. So I'm just going to get started talking about the ingredients that I put in it, talk a little bit about the ingredients, and then move on to how I put it together and finish up. As far as what's in the soup, you've got Italian sausages. I've got half hot and half sweet Italian sausage. It can either be chicken or pork. In this batch, I used chicken because we're trying to cut out fat in this family, so that's a good option for us. The pork is amazing, however, so if you're making this for the first time and you really want to get an idea of it, how it is originally supposed to be, I would try the pork. If you're trying to cut on fat and you really want to avoid fat altogether, I would do the chicken. It's still really tasty, just different. I can't digest the fats like I used to be able to. As you get older, that gets a little rough. So chicken's a good option for us. Okay, so the other ingredient would be bacon. So there's a pound of bacon in it. There's russet potatoes in it. The base is a chicken broth. There's cayenne pepper, salt and pepper. There's heavy whipping cream and kale. So there's 12 ingredients in this soup, and all together it makes some kind of magic. So the first thing I do is I cook the bacon, and I make it nice and crispy. In this particular batch, there was a couple pieces in there that didn't get as cooked as I'd like, but overall most of it was crispy. So that's the goal, but you don't want to burn it. You want it crispy. You want to get most of that fat out of the bacon. So you want to drain the grease out of the pan, and if you're using chicken, you can use that same pan and the residual bacon grease in there to cook it, because you need something to move that chicken around, because it really doesn't have a whole lot of fat. Otherwise, I would just use a really good olive oil to cook the chicken in. So once the bacon's done and you've got it chopped up or crumbled up, put it in a bowl and put it aside. At this point, you want to take your links, or if you bought it in ground Italian sweet sausage version, you can do it that way. But just get your sausage, and you want to remove it from the skins. I like to squeeze it out or pinch it out into little meatball sizes. Didn't fare as well with the chicken because it was a little soft, but it works really good with the pork if you're doing it that way. So get all of that, the meat out. I said like 2 pounds of sausage, just a pretty big pot of soup. And then you want to brown that with your onions. You got 2 white onions in there and 6 cloves of garlic, all chopped up inside the sausage, and brown it really good. Now, if you're doing the chicken, don't cook the chicken all the way. Just before it's done, pull it off the stove and let it sit, because it's gonna finish cooking in the soup broth, and you don't want to overcook the chicken because it tends to get tough. Okay, so you got your chicken sausage or pork sausage mixture with onions and bacon set aside. Now you get your stock pot. You put your broth in there. Recipe is at the end of this video in case I miss some of the measurements, but you want to put the 3 cartons of chicken broth in there and put that in the stove and put it on high. You're going to bring that to a boil. In the meantime, while that's heating up, go ahead and scrub your russet potatoes really good. You got 5 of them. Cut off any parts that don't look so good, and you want to chop all that up into small bite-sized pieces. I wouldn't remove the skin, only because the skin is good for you. It doesn't is an overwhelming taste of skin. I don't really even notice it. And if it's good for you and it looks good and it gives it some texture and color, I'd leave the skin on. You can certainly take it off if you want, but the Olive Garden original recipe has the skin on. So once you've got the potatoes chopped up, put that into the boiling broth, and then you want to go ahead and add the chicken and the bacon and everything and stir it and heat it through. At this point, I would taste the broth, If the broth isn't salty enough, you want to up the salt level. There's nothing worse than a bland soup, so you want to make sure you got enough salt in there. You could put just regular salt in it, but that's not what I do. I want to keep the flavor up, and salt doesn't necessarily mean flavor. So I would add a chicken bouillon or a chicken paste or something. I get one at Costco that's really good. Make sure there's no MSG in it, and add about a teaspoon at a time. Stir it, let it dissolve in the broth, taste it. Make sure you let it dissolve, because if you're tasting it before it dissolves, you're not really getting a true idea of the salt level. So the salt level is really important in soups and stews and all that, in any kind of cooking really. People tend to undersalt. You don't want to oversalt, but you also don't want to undersalt. So go slow and get it up to that level where you like it. Okay, so once the salt level's good, you're going to want to wash your kale really good, shake out all the water, get it drained. Then I like to cut the spine or spline or whatever it is, that center part of the kale out, because it tends to be a bit bitter. The sides of it, the leaves themselves are sweeter, and the top of the spine's okay, but that center part is a little bitter, so I cut it out. You can leave it in or not. It takes a little bit longer to cook that part too, just a little bit. So once you get that chopped up into bite-sized pieces, you add that to your soup, and it's going to cook pretty fast. So stir that in, let it heat through, and then you're going to add your cream at the very last. And that's a pint of cream. And mix that in. You can add some ground black pepper, salt at this point if you need more salt, and it's ready to serve. So you can ladle it into some bowls and put some fresh Parmesan cheese on it and serve it with a nice bread. You've got yourself a great meal, and you got the greens, kale in there. And I love soups because it's got like everything in it, and it's just one thing. So that would be two things, one thing. Anyway, I hope you try it. I hope you like it. If you do, please leave comments below. If you like this content and you want to know when I upload again, click the bell. Subscribe, like it, and I just want to thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and you have a great day.